So the first thing we're going to do is celebrate the past. And so the first couple questions we want you to discuss around your table, we're going to put them up on the screen here. First question is, how has the investment of godly adults pouring into the teens of your church made a positive impact on their journey? Right? So how is the investment of godly adults sort of pouring into the lives of students and teens made a positive difference in their lives, on their journey, and in your church? And also, you could speak personally as well, how someone has invested in you, and you're here today because of a person, because of an investment. All right? And then the second question is, how have you seen God do in and through the teens of your church, the young adults of your church? All right? We take a few minutes, and you guys can work that question out around your tables.
Question one, we'll start with first.
So in our example, we had some neighborhood kids causing trouble in the parking lot, and it was the youth and the youth leaders who actually saw it as an opportunity and started an open, what do they call it, drop-in with the youth. And in a big way, that contributed to how we started House of Prayer, or it was part of the ball getting rolling with engaging the community and the neighborhood cross-culturally. So.
We could also use this mic here if you don't want to come to the front. The people online would appreciate some audio.
Okay, so our table said the faith journey of teenagers would be non-existent without adults discipling them. And that was true of the people I'm sitting with. And we also said what we, as adults, do today is what godly adults actually did for us. So we think we're our own people, but we've actually been shaped by those who went before us and have learned how to follow Jesus through that. And then we just shared our own personal stories of how that happened, whether with youth leaders or unofficial adults in our church community.
Thank you. Yeah, come on up here.
So we talked quite a bit about just mentors in our personal lives, and some of those people are in this room here today, for me personally. But just that challenge, right? That our mentors saw things in us that we didn't necessarily see, and would point them out to us and say, I think you should try doing this, and things that we might have never tried and are now doing, as a career. Also that freedom to fail, right? Where mentors give you freedom to go do something, and maybe you'll mess it up, and then you come back and say, how can we do this better? But that freedom to fail is just a huge thing that kind of came up for us that mentors give. Yeah.
All right, any other tables? That mic is good there too.
Sure. Some of us around our table are here today because of adult leaders who invested in us. So that's significant. We have young adults who we have our camps have been impacted by students who have risen to that challenge, and often kids have been the spark for other forms of mission. So our churches are engaging in mission, often on the lead of young people who start that. In terms of the second question, are we there yet?
Not yet. Let's
Okay.
hold that off. Although Marty's almost into that zone of the board.
I don't know how I got elected for this, but I did. So the words that came up at our table just over and over again were people that cared, a person, not an event, leaders that engaged, relationships, a relationship modeled just for the different kids. I grew up in an EMCC church. Gavin was my youth pastor for part of it. Did you ever think I'd be here, Gav? So just people pouring into our lives. That was one thing we talked about. We have to be authentic and just continually pouring into the lives of our own children, but also for the kids that are coming into our youth group on Friday nights.
Very
or
good.
whatever night it's on.
Thank you. Any other tables? Anything that's missing? Satisfied? Number 2. Yeah. What have you seen God do in and through the teenagers of your church?
For us, what got raised was that God has used the teenagers to almost set a trajectory of thought or questioning or study or research in the lives of some of the older people that then can kind of get spread across the entire church. So,
How do you spell trajectory, Don? I don't know.
All right, what else have we seen? How have teenagers changed your church? Psych! We got that on video too, by the way.
Yeah, it's him, not me. For the second question, for me personally, my reaction was like, no, I don't see anything in these kids as far as God is concerned. Oh, hopefully they're not watching this part. In the way they fell, or in the ways they annoy me or annoy us, I think they are teaching, God is teaching me and grace and love on many things in their failures. That was what I got.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
I think I've seen through the teenagers of the church, they have invited their friends. And so they have shown God's love and care and kind of that outreach and evangelism. And so they have all kind of brought all kinds of crazy friends that have been just wonderful. So.
Tom?
So we talked a lot specifics about the people in our youth group, so I'm not going to mention them by name, but what we noticed that the youth really, really show us how to bring your passion into ministry. Might that be about things that you're passionate about, or you're passionate about relationships with people or caring with people, for people, but they show that very, very well, and it's a really good lesson for us to be reminded of.
We talked about how they teach us new languages to speak. Like, although it's a generational language and a generational view, and so they can speak to their cultural very simply, where we might get annoyed because we can't speak it. And so it looks like their failure, but it's actually us. And so we see ways that they engage naturally, and it challenges us to grow.
And to get even with them, you write in full script and they can't read it, so it's kind of like... How many of you have had children that they get a note from grandma or grandpa in the mail and they can't read it at all? Yes. Yeah, please help me. Secret code.
A lot of the teenagers I know are passionate, but they're also willing to ignore the adult boundaries and push for change, right? When we say it can't be done, okay, why can't it be done, right? Why is often for a 2-year-old, but no, it keeps going. It's just teenagers, why though, why? And they sometimes already have the answers to the questions we still have. So it's important for us to listen and pay attention to their future. Yeah.
Absolutely, thank you.
We have seen the senior youth using their gifts and talents and worship team, things like that, inspire the junior youth to start learning and growing and applying. So they have been feeding each other that way as well.
We're going to call that the last one for this question because we got a lot more to do today.